Ladies and gentlemen, I can't still go ahead and hear that loud cheer and claps. I can't hear it. Where's the energy? Where's the energy? There it is. Please welcome a man who's got the heart of a lion and, of course, hands of magic. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Leander Paes. Not too bad, yeah? Please. Thanks so much, Vineet. Should we do that again? Leander Paes! How you doing?
Embarrassed. It's just wonderful to be in front of all of you all, and Bangalore is one of my favorite cities in the entire country. The weather here is just stunning. I've just come in from Kolkata, and it's hot and humid and it's still raining. The weather here is fantastic. People are pretty cool here too, huh?
Yeah, they are. The weather helps. Lee, to start at the start is always a good start. What do you feel?
Yes, this is my first gig that I've done since my father passed away 1 month ago. And my dad was battling Parkinson's 20 years. I was looking after him for 20. And I can't tell you how happy I am to come and celebrate life with all of you. How happy I am to come and share my dad's knowledge, my knowledge. I was his guinea pig. He was a sports science doctor. He was also an Olympic champion. And to come and share with you guys, it's as much as we are sitting on the stage, I feed off your energy. So thanks for having me tonight.
Thank you for that privilege, Lee. And God rest his soul. He was definitely a wonderful, wonderful man, as much as I remember all his brilliance. Well, I can't still sum it up, but he's, of course, done something brilliant.
Not too bad, huh?
As far as... So yeah, the Olympic baby situation, I think we need to go ahead and unveil that bit, because it's a fascinating little chestnut, and a lot of the people out here would love to hear how this legend actually was born.
So, telling you a little bit about my parents, my mom captained India in basketball. She's of Bengali background. She was 5'0". And 5'0", captain of the basketball team. She had, like what most women have, intuition. And mom had quick twitch fibers. She was lightning fast, both with her hands and with her legs. And mom knew every one of her teammates' children's birthdays, their anniversaries, and she invested her human equity into the team. My dad, on the other side, was 6'3", of Portuguese Goan descent. So he was the center half of the 1972 Munich Olympic hockey team. And all of you all seem too young, but Munich back in 72, Israeli athletes got taken hostage. The games were shut down for 4 days. The German army was inside the village. And inside an Olympic village, guys, you got 10,000 athletes who are housed alphabetically by country, which means India was bang opposite Israel. The German army had come in. They had boarded down the windows. They took all the TVs out. They removed all the newspapers. No civilians were allowed inside the village, and no athletes were allowed out. My parents were together inside the village, and I guess they had nothing else better to do. I was conceived in those 4 days. Needless to say, I was born on the 17th of June, 1973, if any of you all want to do the math. But in that, I was born with these crazy genetics of both of them being in peak performance, mom basketballer, dad hockey player. I was born with these tree trunk legs, and part Bengali, Hindu, part Christian, Portuguese, Goa. Football was my first love. Go figure, right? So I used to juggle the football in class, always get punished by the teachers because I was more juggling the football than juggling my school books. And a bit of a freak athlete. And my parents decided to encourage me through sport. So at the age of 11, I was selected for the Barcelona Football Academy.
See, not too many people knew that.
You always seem to bring out all these
Yes.
tidbits. And I went over to Nou Camp, to Barcelona, and I lived there for a year. I played on the junior program. I was 11 years old at the time, playing with European kids and talented soccer players from all over the world who were 15 years old, 17 years old, because the juniors is 17 and under. But after 7 months of being there, they selected me for the Barcelona playing 11 under 17 football team. But they did that with one condition. The condition was I had to give up my Indian passport.
Yes.
And I bleed blue. I mean, my mom's jersey number was number 5, playing for India. She had light blue on her chest and dark blue sleeves, dark blue collars, with Paes on the back with number 5. Dad's number was number 10. And he had dark blue on the chest, light blue sleeves and light blue collar with Paes on the back and number 10. I couldn't play for any other country. I had to play for home, and home was India.
See, that always happens.
So, like a good Indian boy, I told the coach at Barcelona, I said, I got to go home and ask my mummy daddy. So the next morning at 5:30 when he got to my room was spotless. I had packed even my toothbrush because I wasn't coming back. And he picked up on that. He said to me, he said, I know you're not coming back, but if you leave today, give up football as your dream because we are the #1 football club on the planet. Yeah. So I said, what makes you think I'm not coming back? He said, no 11-year-old packs his room so clean. So I said, we're good Indian boys. We go home and do it. So I came home, I gave up my dream as a footballer, and I had no clue what I was going to do. Because I would eat, breathe, and sleep football my entire day. And when I got back home to Calcutta, where my parents lived, I was sitting on the dining table the first night at dinner, and Dad said straight to me, he says, what you going to do now? And I said, I have no idea. Why didn't you guide me? And he said, you've given up your dream of football. You would have played for any European club. You would have played in the World Cup. With a bit of luck, you would have won a World Cup, which is what your dream was. But in our house, we have a democracy, so you figure it out. And by sheer luck, in my parents' dining room when I was a kid, when I looked to the right, so I would sit on my dad's left at the dining table because my mom always sat on his right. And when I looked past my dad and I looked into the living room, my Uncle Basil's picture was up on the wall, and he was wearing a Fred Perry sweater with 3 tennis rackets there. You know, I know I'm being recorded today, but tennis when I was a kid was not the coolest sport. You had to wear white, you had to wear collars, you had to do your buttons, your shirt was tucked in. You know, you couldn't
Especially if you played football.
Exactly. We wanted to get a bit dirty and a bit rough. We wanted to really, you know, get into a dogfight on the field and really play tough. But in tennis, it was love all. So,
Deuce.
yeah. And then when I saw Uncle Basil's picture, I said tennis. My dad laughed at me for 6 minutes. For a few of y'all who have followed my career, you'll know I'm a rebel. I'm a rebel with a cause. When you're 11 years old and your father laughs at you for 6 minutes, it seems like an eternity. So I said to him, why are you laughing? He said, you are short. You don't know how to play tennis? Do you play single hand or double hand? I said, I don't know. I don't have a tennis racket. So I said, find me, we'll make a deal. You find me the best tennis academy, give me 52 weeks, and I'll let you know if I can do it. So then he found me the Britannia Amritraj Tennis Academy in Madras back then. So on the 12th of May, 1986, I packed up my bags, and I moved to Madras, and my dad came to drop me. But for about 6 weeks before I left for Madras, my dad, every evening after dinner, would go into his office, into his study at home, and he used to write a lot. And that was normally my time with my dad. But for 6 weeks, he was not giving me that time. And when I'd come into the office, I'll be like, Dad, let's go, let's go play some sport. Let's do something fun. Let's chat. He'd be like, no, leave me alone. And on the 12th of May, 1986, when I got to Madras, Dad dropped me there, stayed with me for 3 days, but he gave me a 100-page letter. And that 100-page letter, the first paragraph and the last paragraph were the same. But what the gist of that letter was that my parents were separating and going their own ways. I have 2 elder sisters, Jackie and Maria, who I love to bits. They had already gone to Loreto House in Darjeeling. Both were great athletes. They were up in Darjeeling in boarding school. And my parents were waiting for me to find my feet because I was the youngest kid. And the first and the last paragraph of that 100-page letter was, tennis is your vehicle to become a man.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Some of us in life don't have options. Some of us in life are not the tallest. The average height of a tennis player in the 80s was 6'1", 90s 6'2", 2000 6'3". Today, Sinner and all these guys are 6'4". Wow. The average height is 6'4".
That's just aspirational for me. Sorry.
You are not a tennis player. I am. I'm 5'10"
I just
on
thought,
a good day.
I mean, since that was a heightest joke you were making.
I mean, if I was as good looking as you, I wouldn't have to play tennis and chase a
Arey
ball.
wow. Backhand slap.
But can you imagine playing against guys like Ivan Izevich, 6'10", John Isner, 6'10", Karlovic, 6'11". I'm 5'10" on a good day. So definitely not God-given talent for tennis. But today's message is, we Indians have a wonderful word. It's my favorite word in Hindi. जुगाड़.
जुगाड़.
हम लोग इतना बड़ा जुगाड़ू है ना, हर चीज में जुगाड़ करते हैं. जुगाड़ कर करके 6 विंबलडन्स जीत चुके हैं.
Okay. Lee, very important. I remember last time you and I were having a conversation, and a very, very long conversation in this. You mentioned 11, 12 is when you actually started the game. And I remember I had asked you, I said, Lee, the basic point was, I mean, you're a legend, right? That's clear. But a Sachin, a Messi, you remember that conversation? Yeah. And you talked about the fact that they started really young, maybe at 3 or 4 or somewhere there. And I would love for you to go ahead and talk about that, because that is true resilience. Because you were actually always playing catch up.
You know, talent is picked very young in other countries in the world. In India, unfortunately, we don't have that luxury. That's something I want to change. And at the end of this conversation, Sudhi and me are going to talk about how. But when I was playing football at the age of 11, 1985-ish, there was no training systems. Today, you've got great gymnasiums. Everybody's on either a keto diet or on a intermittent fasting, or we guys are trying to catch up to the girls because the women have moved so far ahead in India that we guys are playing catch up. We're still trying to make sure we wear colored socks with our suits because women have gone so far ahead. But in the 80s and 90s, we had to just find a way. Jugaad karna hi hai. So then I realized that let me study how the great athletes have done it. So at that point, there were 2 other contemporaries in India. One was Vishy Anand, who was become a very dear friend of mine. I think he's a complete legend, not just in chess, but he's a great son of the soil. And the other was the little man, Sachin. Sachin and me live 50 yards away from each other in Bandra and Bombay, and another great natural-born talent. So I started studying these guys. Vishy Anand was already playing against computers in the 90s. He had a contract, I believe, with IBM.
Yes.
And he was playing against computers then. Sachin had switched from a left-hander to a right-hander because he was left-eye dominant. So if he was playing left-handed, his dominant eye, left eye, would be behind, so he'll pick up the ball a fraction of a second late. So they switched him to right hand, so his dominant eye would be in the front, and that's why when you see Sachin bat, it seems like he has all the time in the world. But you know, the magic of legends is there's science behind it. And I'll take a minute to talk about science and then get into how AI and tech get involved into human life. But the science of success is first studying yourself. It's studying your genetics, studying your blood work, studying your bone density, your muscle density, and also studying your brain mapping. So when you get to know yourself, be very, very honest with yourself where your weaknesses are and where your strengths are. The one great thing about athletes, right, there's nowhere to hide.
Yeah, that's true.
Jahan pe bhi jao, all of y'all are watching us. It's like you live in a fishbowl environment. So by the time you're 10 years of age, you get comfortable in your own skin. You get comfortable that you're not as good looking as Sudhi. You get comfortable that you have to learn from others. You get comfortable in reinventing yourself. And today's conversation is about how, as humans, we can constantly reinvent ourselves to achieve success. Because the minute you stop learning, there are a million, well, in India we have 1 billion. There are tens of millions of people who are going by you every day. So constantly learn. So I studied Sachin. I studied Pete Sampras then. I studied Federer. I studied Pele and Maradona and those guys. And I realized that oxygen levels in the blood and in the organs made a big difference. And coming from India, all I had to learn was Ujjayi breath. It's a yoga methodology that we have in India. And I realized that in India we are so rich in knowledge, but it's not marketed as well as the Western countries. So I delved into India and I started doing yoga every day. It's another thing that we were doing yoga at 4:30 in the morning, and some mornings I fell asleep. On a Thursday morning I was so tired from the whole week's work that some mornings I used to fall asleep. But yoga practice, meditation, visualization, breath, these are things that can align the body, the mind, and the soul together. We athletes call it the zone. Yep. Now, when you have physical fitness, when you have mental aptitude, you still have to put it together. When you have emotions playing, we Indians are very high quotient on emotions because we're constantly hit with data all the time. Even if we don't have a smart gadget in our hands rather, our heads are constantly thinking about things. We overthink things. Yep. But I think that by breathing well, by calming the heartbeat, regulating the heartbeat, every one of us have a heartbeat. And if we can study what our optimum heartbeat is, and I'll explain that in a second. One is you have a resting heart rate. When you wake up in the morning, take your pulse for 60 seconds. That's your resting heart rate. Take it as you wake up, before your mind starts thinking. That's your resting heart rate. Second is when you're working out, when you're at office, or when you're in the gym, or when you're doing your training, whatever walk of life you're in, when you're in that regular daily routine, test your heart rate out then. 1 minute, test your heart rate. It'll be higher than your resting heart rate. But the part that we don't do in India is to check your maximum heart rate. So my resting heart rate in my entire career was 29 beats a minute.
Wow. Really?
Bjorn Borg's was 27 beats a minute.
Wow.
Bjorn Borg, one of the great champions in the 80s, he could also run for Sweden in the 100 and 200 meter track and field in the Olympics. That's how fast he was. Wow. Bjorn Borg also started playing tennis when he was 12 years old. Guess which Indian kid studied him? I suddenly realized, yaar, ye mera jaisa hi hai. If he won Wimbledon starting at the age of 12, he doesn't know how to volley that great. He's playing with wooden rackets. I'm playing with graphite. Maybe kuch ban sakta hun. So then I realized that if I don't have the double-handed backhand, or if I don't have the Pete Sampras serve, I can prepare my lungs so big that every hour that I take the match longer, the better chance for me to win. Every rally that I take the match longer, the better chance for me to win. Then I inherited my mom's genetics, quick twitch fiber. Who's going to sit on the baseline and play 25 shots? Come play me at my strength, speed. Like how Vishy Anand used to play speed chess. I used to ask him, what are you thinking? He said, Lee, I was 3 steps ahead in every move. We went to college together at Loyola College in Madras. And Vishy Anand, this is a great story about him. While I was studying him, I said, Vish, you got to teach me the speed chess. So we had 9 boys in the tennis academy. He said, Lee, buy 9 boards, place 1 board in front of each of you. I'm in the center. Make the boards like a circle. Give me board 1, 2, 3, 4, up till 9. Blindfold me, and I'll play you guys. So Vishy Anand blindfolded, beat every single one of us 9 guys in maximum of three moves.
How embarrassed were you?
Tremendously. But look at the mental aptitude we Indians have. That's not jugaad. That's intelligence. I believe, and I truly believe this in the core of my heart, because I've proved it, that we Indians are more intelligent than any other community on the planet.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Lee.
And we're so resilient. You go to any country in the world, desi milenge or aloo milenge. We adapt to anything. Let's bring it to this modern times that we're living in. We're living in such a vulnerable geopolitical world today, right? Who's doing the best in the world at the moment? Most countries want to get rid of which community? Why? We're doing all the jobs they won't do. Why? Because some of the best bankers are Indian. Some of the best doctors are Indian.
Some of the best developers are Indian.
I haven't even got to IT yet. We run IT of this world. They've taken IT and set it up in India. And this is where I think the magic, if I can switch over to a little tech,
Yes.
this is where the magic of India is, I believe, the opportunity for us to go from a third world and second world country to a first world country, and I'm taking a risk even though I'm being recorded here, is to get other countries and other businesses from other countries to invest their money in our brains. Their money, our intelligence, we design in India. We don't design outside India. Make in India, make in Bharat. Make it here. Yes, we were having a great conversation earlier about sovereignty and protecting.
Yeah, that was the debate that we had today. I was telling you about it, and I thought it was very interesting in terms of some of the points that were raised, Lee. And what finally actually came out of it is one thing which I would like for everyone to know. I want to share this with you. So there is this moment where Lee was playing the Wimbledon, and it was a moment of grease lightning, call it magic, call it whatever. He'll give you the backstory, but it was the flying man shot. I don't know if you guys know about that. Have you seen that visual of Lee actually just flying? And he was in the air for what, 2 seconds, 3
That's
seconds?
only because I don't know how to hit a backhand, so I just dive.
But that was pure, honestly, that was pure, let's not go into you losing to Vishy because of blind. Yeah. But no, but the point that I'm trying to make is, wasn't that pure adaptability? Wasn't that just something that just came from spur of the moment? And probably is that where you're trying to tech, no pun intended, this conversation in terms of the fact that adaptability is where we need to start heading. We are talking about aspects of sovereignty, we're talking about make in India, we're talking about all of that. But Lee, let's face it, at the end of the day, one of the most brilliant points that was made today during the discussion was adaptability.
100%. I think that instinct is very important. I think that for every woman out there in the world, trust your instincts. You're 99% right. And you know what? Even that 1% where you're wrong, you're intelligent enough to adapt. Keep trusting your instinct. What's the worst that can happen? You fail, right? I have lost 74.3% of every tennis match I've played in my entire career. Let's rephrase that. 74.3%. If I go to a bank for an investment loan, I'm not getting it.
That's not too bad. Let me just go ahead and
But
tell you something. 18 Grand Slam titles, 7 consecutive Olympics, Olympic medal. Oh, and by the way, the first Asian man ever to be inducted in the Tennis Hall of Fame.
so I brought this because this just doesn't belong to me. This belongs to every Indian on the planet, which is all of you too. I definitely would not be who I am without your encouragement, your inspiration. And you know those lonely nights when you're playing an individual sport outside India and you don't have money to live in a hotel and you're 19 years old, you're living in a locker room in Wolfsburg, Germany, and you're vegetarian at the time, so there's not much food. It's the height of winter. There are about 15, 20 feet of snow outside. It's the third week of November, 1991. Those nights define who you are. Winter of 1991 again was a tough winter for me. I was back in New York, and I got mugged at Grand Central Station. I got a scar on my chest, 23 stitches. Why? Because the guy just wanted my fancy tennis shoes. As simple as that. But hardships in life define who you are, not just your triumphs. Your triumphs gets you reverence. Your triumphs get you trophies. But to get to the trophies and to become the person you have become, it's your values and your ethics when life challenges you.
You have been working with AI. I would like for you to share that aspect as far as adaptability is concerned. Lee has just done something which I think will make all of us really, really proud. He was sharing that little story with me before we came on stage. I would please request you to elaborately tell everyone he's going to change the face of sport as far as youth is concerned in the country. And he's doing this with his father's blessings because he's going to utilize the system, the legacy that his father has left him, which is the PACE system. I should not talk more. I would like for you to go ahead and tell them because it's aspirational.
My case study when it comes to tech is a little interesting because through the 80s and 90s, we didn't have much access to tech. Through the 2000s, I just knew how to plug in my smart gadgets to get them to charge. But then I had to adapt to keep up to the younger talent that was coming up through the Olympic movement or through tennis. Because the younger talent was scouting my matches using videography, and their coaches were looking at under pressure, where was my backhand going on a passing shot? Under pressure, where was my second serve going? So they weren't just studying the percentages of where I played my shots, they were studying the percentages of where I played my shot under pressure, which means they were brain reading me. Every one of us have brain maps. What would we do under pressure? What would we do in different situations? And this is where I think the meeting of the human mind and emotions comes to technology. Now, today the big word is artificial intelligence. Let's break that up. It's still artificial and it's intelligence. But where human intelligence comes in is where we need to keep evolving. Tech is pushing us as humans to keep adapting. What I had to do was in the 2000s, I had to study where my own brain mapping was, where under pressure, maybe I would hit a second serve on the ad court wide to the backhand. And I knew my opponent knew that. So under pressure, when the pressure was on a different grade, it was only at about 20% to 50%, I would not hit that serve. I'd hit it into the body backhand. I'd hit it sliced down the tee. I would give it a different speed. only to try and beat the technology data that my opponents were getting to save the human magic that I have, where when I really needed it at 6-all in the match tie break, in the 5th set, 5.5 hours into the match, then I'd play my favorite shot. Now, this is the magic of human intelligence, right? I find most humans around the world complaining that AI is coming in, we're losing jobs, and it's taking away jobs. And I was in Dubai just now at the Economic Forum just after Davos, and we were speaking there about how AI and artificial intelligence and tech is adapting the athlete. But I flipped it on how you can use technology and artificial intelligence to better your human life. Now, I'm not just talking about blood work and bone density, muscle density, and things. We've already spoken a little about that. But I'm talking about how artificial intelligence is pushing us as human beings to keep raising our emotional quotient. Because technology does not have emotions. Technology will only feed off the data you feed it. Now, who's feeding that data? We are. So depending on how we are feeding that data, it will differ. But I still think there's a huge opportunity, especially in India, where we get foreign investment, foreign sovereign investment, foreign countries to invest their dollars and their currency in our Indian intelligence. Because the last time I checked, in India, we still do mathematics in our brains, not on a calculator. Last time I checked, we Indians have an emotional quotient that we can read a human being when they're sitting in front of us and how they behave with us, not just for their words they're using. I think the Indian human quotient is very, very high. And I think we got to retain that and keep getting it better. Because, yes, 100% I bleed blue. I got the Tiranga in my veins. We should make things in India. Why? Not because we can, but because we'll create jobs for every Indian on the planet. We got 1.4 billion of us. If 55% is under the age of 26...
Very amorous race. Sorry.
Yeah, 55% is under the age of 26. Yep. And 80% of that is under the age of 18. That's 745 million on an average who are still under the age of 18. So that's my target audience. And the fun thing is that those 18-year-olds have not seen me play, which means I'm using data and tech to better their lives, because they will know me as Leander, the guy who gave me an education, Leander, the guy who gave me a job, Leander, the guy who taught me a skill set to put food on the table and a roof over my head. And what Sudhi was trying to talk about was, Sudhi is very close to my dad. Dad used to love pineapples, and this young man used to bring him pineapples every evening.
God rest his soul. He loved pineapples.
Human Indian equity. Pineapples. And while Sudhi would bring Dad pineapples, and he made sure they were peeled so Dad didn't have to peel them, he was very clever, this boy, Dad would sit and discuss with him about how Dad's sports science knowledge, this young man was playing out in his daily life. I'll explain that in a second. I have just signed on my first Olympic academy in Orissa. 250 acres, 80,000 children, 40,000 tribal children, 40,000 Indian children, 20,000 international children from 22 countries, and 20,000 staff. I've got a catchment area of 120,000 human beings.
That requires a big round of applause. That's huge. Because the vision is something I would like for you to share with everyone.
And the vision of what my dad and I have is that we've got a sports science and human science knowledge in our family, where Dad and Mom were champions in their field. Dad's an Olympic champion from 72. I was his guinea pig, his bakra. I won my medal in 96 in a completely different sport than my parents. Mom was basketball, Dad was hockey, I did tennis. I've never been married, but in 2003, after winning Wimbledon with Navratilova, I contracted a tumor in my brain. Later on, we realized it was not a cancerous tumor. It was neurocystic sarcosis. It was a kida. But when I came out of the hospital, the doctor said you couldn't have children. Guess what? I had a kid. They said you couldn't play tennis again. I won more Grand Slams and played more Olympics after the hospital. But this young daughter that I have who's 19 years old, she lives in Barcelona. She's made life easy for me because she's taken up tennis. And I'm using dad's sports science and AI to develop her career to make India's third generation Olympian from our family alone. So this knowledge that we have, I've used a tech company to design a portal, and a very, very respected gentleman who owns this tech company said, do you have a name for it? And I said, no. He said, come back tomorrow, I'll have a name for you. He said, your last name is Paes, right? P-A-E-S? So I said, yeah. So now we call the portal Physical Athletic Education System. And what my focus on is very different than most other entrepreneurs in sport. Most other entrepreneurs in sport, because of sheer commerce, they're looking at the top of the pyramid. For every 10 crores they invest, for every 100 crores they invest, for every 500 crores they invest, they want to see what return they're getting, how fast they're getting it. I'm in the Make India Great movement. I'm looking at the bottom line. I'm looking at the grassroots, because I sincerely believe that the talent of India is in tier 2, tier 3, rural India, gaons and towns. And I feel those kids don't have an opportunity to come to the cities to showcase their talent. Those kids don't have an opportunity to really earn food on their table and a roof over their head. And I think education is going so high in India, you get 99% in your board exams and you're worried about the last 1%. Because that determines whether you get into medical school or that determines whether you get into sciences or not. Because the quota system is getting you into the medical school. Which means none of us here, on an average, will get into that medical school because we're not part of the quota. I don't know about you guys, but I never got 99% in class. So coming back to that.
I did. Sorry, doesn't matter.
See, now you're bragging, you're good looking and you're intelligent. Next you'll say you'll win Wimbledon. Now what to do? So I want to move India at the grassroots level, where if through sports and sports education, not just build champions for the 3 steps on a podium, but to do sports management, sports medicine, sports physiotherapy, sports architecture, sports organization, sports equipment, sports shoes, sports clothes, sports equipment as in the apparatuses that we play with. Most of the hockey equipment in the world comes from India, Jalandhar. Most of the best cricket bats come from India. Do we market it? No. The one Sardarji in the room is clapping. Thank you, sir. In that, if you look at how great we are in India with intelligence, I think it's a responsibility for people like myself who are achievers in the world, on the global stage, to take that knowledge that we have in India and take it to the world. So I would like to empower, through my sports education, 250 million children over the next 20 years through sports education.
Bus?
The beautiful part is, my Baba started about 50 years ago, and we already have hit 21 million.
Wonderful.
So in this, the data that we have is now just spinning on itself. Because if you get into the technical stuff, blood work data, bone density data, muscle density data, Baba designed what we call age verification. In sport, you know, when you play under 14 and under 17, if you win those age groups, you get scholarships to colleges, you get scholarships to academy. So around the world, we have 25-year-olds playing under 17. I can't tell you how many coaches ask me to cheat my age. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I can't tell you how many kids, without knowing, are drinking any water, any juice that the coaches are giving. Next thing you know, they're getting beards at the age of 12. Next thing you know, our young women, their hormonal cycles are going haywire. Who's really caring for the human being? Who's really caring for that one young child, regardless of whether you win Olympic medals or not, about their future? So we got to use tech, we got to use artificial intelligence, we got to use sports science to develop the quality of life of the human being. Because I can guarantee you, like I said earlier, in a sport where the average height is 6'4" today, on a good day I'm 5'10".
We started with the height jokes.
If you have, sorry, what?
We started with the height jokes again.
Yeah, because if you have a good quality of life, every single 24 hours, every human being gets the same 24 hours. Every human being gets the same 365 days in the year. But if you have a great quality of life, you can achieve success in anything. And that's the conversation, is better quality of sleep, better quality of food, better quality of fitness, better quality of movement. Today, all of us are on smart gadgets. I'm sure everyone in this room is sending on an average about 75 to 100 emails every day. One email is, hey, ... But you have to reply. Then you have to reply within half an hour, because that's the company mandate. Then you reply within half an hour, the next message is, what's up? Now you spent the first 1 hour just saying, hey, what's up? Where's the quality of time spent? We're not just punching in for monthly salaries, right? Even all our bosses would want to see qualitative work, not quantity of work. The quality of your human being is much more important than the quantity of your human being. The harder you work and the more productive you are, the faster you're going to move up in your organization, the faster you're going to achieve in life. And that is where tech and AI can allow me, for example, not just to be in one state or in one town and deal with only 120,000 children, but allows me to aim at a figure of 250 million children. When I say that to my American counterparts or my German counterparts, they don't know what I'm talking about, because they don't have 1 billion people in their country. So for me, it's the Tiranga. For me, it's every single one of you. Because if I can be a champion, no, at 5'10", no backhand, I had to move from the ad court, where it's backhand side, to the deuce court, because where my default backhand, where I meet it late, goes perfectly inside out. In doubles, that worked for me.
And that's adaptability.
That's jugaad.
Yeah, fair enough. But Lee, I think what you also just mentioned, you talked about the fact that you're constantly learning, you're constantly growing. Those are the things which I've been able to understand. And I've, of course, seen that as far as a lot of the evolution that you're going through. But one very important fact that I want to go ahead and ask you and talk to you about, you've played with more than 164 partners.
168.
Yeah, I knew it. See, everyone went ahead and dinged on that as well.
That reminds me of the rickshaw walas in Calcutta. Ding, ding.
168.
Does that mean our time's up?
168. Whose time? No, we're doing this. We're carrying on. 168 partners. Something like this, in terms of Cypher 2025, right, where we are at, we're gracing this stage. It's in its 9th edition. It's a lot of blood, sweat, hard work which has gone in over the last 10 years. It's been a wonderful journey. It started off with really nothing, and it's very, very inspirational. And I'll tell you where am I going with this. The fact that everyone here, sitting in this room, has been a wonderful partner in terms of their growth, their journey. We talked about a spiritual understanding. We talked about knowing yourself. We talked about all of that. We are moving into a direction in terms of tech and AI where you need a partnership, where you need human plus AI, for example, or you need a partnership. What was that one thing that always made sure that that partnership for you was aces? Was it gratitude? Was it humility? Because that couldn't be jugaad. Not with 168 people.
It was all of that, but it was the essence of investing in your partner. Now, if your partner is a machine, if your partner is data, if your partner is tech, if your partner is a human being, a man or a woman or any partner, invest time in your partner. Don't be scared of it. Nafrat mat karo. Don't be fearful that someone else understands this better than I. Trust me, if I can understand AI today from the background that I've come from in the 70s and 80s, anyone can do. I spend 4 hours every week learning new tech. Today I'm designing Olympic designs of how the human science can be bettered using my dad's knowledge, which is from 1945 and World War II, because Dad studied Eastern German sports science, and I'm not going to get there now. We can do that on another day. But from 1945, that knowledge till today, 2025, we have taken the human intelligence and used AI to model the perfect athlete, but yet design it and customize it for each person. So someone's a lefty compared to someone's a righty, it's different. If someone is right brain, left brain dominant, it's different. If someone's right eye dominant, left eye dominant, different. If someone comes from a different geographical, genetic location, I'll just break that down quickly. A Punjabi would react differently to the same situation than a Bengali would. A Bengali would react differently than a Gujarati would. A Gujarati would react differently than a Tamilian would. And I'm not even getting into the other states of India, because every human being would react differently to the same situation. You got to customize for your clients. So to answer this question, the success of a human being lies in the obstacles that are in front of you. Accept the obstacle, celebrate it, and be a student of life.
Beautifully put. Beautifully put. And how important is it to understand the fact that 7 consecutive Olympics, and I mean, it still befuddles me. The fact that you took playing long and made it into an art form, to be honest. First, what were you eating? Well, that's a different story. And the fact that longevity is something which comes at a price, which comes at a lot of maybe discipline or a lot of other those aspects. We all feel excited, right? We all feel there's such wonderful people out here who are founders, who have just started up companies, who have done that. We've all been through our journeys. A lot of them are maybe just starting out right now. But to play that long game, what's that one magical thing that you need to keep doing, keep telling yourself? And, well, those days that inner voice of doubt comes in for surely. How did you overcome that? I mean, to be honest, it is very inspirational to understand that.
There are 2 things. One is have tremendous belief in yourself by knowing your strengths and your weaknesses. Once you know your strengths and weaknesses, partner with people whose strengths are your weakness and your strengths are their weakness. So the sum of 2 individuals are greater than 2. And then once you start raising the bar, once you win your first Wimbledon title and people say, "Arey, ye to lucky ho gaya."
Not too bad for a boy from the streets of Calcutta, though.
Then you do it the 2nd time. Then you do it the 4th time. Then you do it the 6th time. Then stay humble. Because by staying humble and remaining a student of your craft, remaining a student of life, remaining a student of understanding people, you keep growing, you keep raising the bar. So for every one of you out there, I believe that my forte is sports, health, and wellness. And for any one of you out there that is looking to make India great through technology, artificial intelligence, health, wellness, I would love to chat with you to see how we can all become inclusive to make India great. I also feel that we are one community. We are one species as human beings. It doesn't matter what religion, caste, color we have. It doesn't matter what dialect we speak. We are Bharat. We are India. We are the Taranga.
Can I coach you on that by saying this? And this is something which Lee had said, which I thought was very interesting. It speaks volumes about the human he is. And I'm quoting you now. "I've always believed that you can't control the outcome, Only your preparation, effort, and mindset. So when you said that we are Bharat, that's forever been your mindset.
Yes, it's amazing how when you do every single thing within your power, every moment of the day, how that becomes your classroom, you know? And every day you try and better yourself. So right now I'm with you, chatting with you. In about 10, 15, 20 minutes, we're going to be moving on to something else. The next speaker will come in. None of you all are going to remember every single thing I said.
Is that true though? We didn't hear you.
Y'all are all Pinocchios. Y'all are definitely not going to remember everything
Some
I
of them
said.
have maybe slept off.
But if I'm able to inspire you with even one thought of how you can be your own champion, one thought of whether it's yoga, meditation, breath, using that to bring your brain mapping and your physicality together, get up and move, exercise. One of the things that I look at health in India, diabetes, we're #1 in the world. Obesity, we're #1 in the world. A lot of us are scared to do our medical checkups because of what we're going to find out. I'm saying let's do our blood work and our test where preventive medicine is better than allopathic medicine. Kyun? Because look at our Vedas, look at our Hindu scriptures, look at yoga. We come from a country which is one of the oldest civilizations that has all the health and wellness in a natural way. I hope there's no one from Big Pharma here, but in a natural way, we can live a great qualitative life because we come from a country that has that. So let's celebrate Indian intelligence with Western technology and put that together. I have. That's why I'm here still today. At 52, I have more energy today than I did when I was 23.
Wonderful.
Because at 23, I didn't have the benefits of artificial intelligence or tech or data. Today, I do.
Lee, before we go to the audience, I have to obviously ask you this. You have, of course, spoken about this in the past. 11 years old, start up a game, pick it up, play it beautifully. It's poetry in motion. Play it long. Do all of that. Titles, awards, everything. What's that one thing that always you wanted to leave when you retired or when you actually took up the next chapter of your life? What was that one thing that always made you smile when you said the word legacy? What did it mean to you?
It meant making my parents proud. Today, that's hard because I only have one parent left. I lost my dad a month ago. But every morning I wake up with opportunity to make my parents proud.
You know what? You've not just made your parents proud, you've made the entire country proud. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Leander Paes. All right, Lee, we're going to throw it to the audience. But before I do, I wrote something finally for you. This doesn't mean it's going to be the close of our conversation. But here is what I wrote. The future of performance in sport or life belongs to those who adapt, innovate, and never stop learning. Ladies and gentlemen, that's inspired by Leander Paes, the first Asian man to be in the Hall of Fame. Lee. And that shouldn't stop.